Namaste. Periyava Saranam. The intrinsic benefits of service. We would often ask what big benefits will accrue from the services to God and humanity. The squirrel in Ramayana is an example for us. Did it think the Setu construction is a big task? We are insignificant creatures. What assistance can we render? The service the squirrel rendered may or may not have been of help to Rama, but it was of great help to itself. It earned Rama's grace and the touch by his hands. In the same way, if, without thinking, what big thing am I going to do? And keeping away, we render whatever service we can, we will have our mind purified as Ishvara Prasadam, though our service may or may not be useful to others. I always remember two persons who were like the squirrel in Ramayana and whom I had come across in my lifetime. In February 1944, when Kumbhabhishekam was performed for Kamakshi in Kanchipuram on a grand scale, one person who had a small shop in Tirunelveli sent me a money order for 1 rupee and wrote to me a long letter in which he expressed his regrets and feeling of sorrow that he had no means to send me more money. Similarly, when the first Sadas was held in Ilayatangudi in 1962 in a big way, Bharata Gramakala Vidvat Sadas, a person from Madras had sent a money order for 5 rupees and had requested that this small donation may also be accepted along with other ones. Even if the big donations are forgotten, that 1 rupee and the 5 rupees have always remained in my mind. As I have repeatedly said earlier, whether other benefit from our society and charity or not, our ego will certainly go down. By people joining together, there will be amity in the society. When we get together and dig a tank, we are also digging and removing our ego bit by bit. More than water coming up in the tank, the feeling of compassion that gets generated in our heart is satisfied. This sympathy, compassion, and love will be helpful for us to know the Paramatma Swarupa. If it is said we should have bhakti towards God, we should be blessed by His grace, how will it come? It is only by doing service to others and properly conditioning the mind we will develop real bhakti. We will also receive Ishvara's blessings. Instead of merely talking of love, we should demonstrate it in action. Care of orphans, providing refuge to the poor who have nowhere to go, rearing cows, helping people with food and relieving them of hunger, etc. We will receive Parameshwara's love. The Lord's grace is everywhere flowing like a flood. If our heart is stony, we cannot receive the grace just as water cannot pass through stone. But if we throw a cloth in the flowing water, it spreads of its own and draws water to itself. If we take the cloth out and squeeze it, water flows. In the same way, we make our stony hearts soft like cloth. We can observe the grace that is surrounding us all the time. The biggest help that can be rendered to a person is to get him attracted to the Lord. It is true that building a school or hospital, providing water, etc., are all service. When we talk of social service, we think of these only. But all the service will require fullness only when they take us to the service of God. It is to make us realize that service connected with God is called Tirupani. Pani in Tamil is service. Tiru is equivalent to the Sanskrit Sri. This term gives the meaning that it is the highest of all services. The large number of huge temples in our poor India were not constructed by people in return for salary. It is true that the kings who built these temples had given them liberally, but those who actually did the job had done so out of service motive. The king of his own had given them to provide for their living. The setup and the economy of those times were entirely different. Population was less. There was no problem for food and clothing and a place to live except absolute necessities were there. No expenditure on luxuries like cinema, etc. The state also had no need to construct factories and dams as in present times. The king had to spend only on maintaining an army and did not have to incur expenditure on many activities which are being carried on these days in the name of welfare state for the improvement of the society. Therefore, the king had spent a lot on temples everywhere. Building new temples and renovating old temples was a major activity to keep the people engaged continuously and to take care of their needs. Due to this, people who were working on such projects had their minds turned to God, were greatly devoted, and were peaceful. The country was prosperous. Instead of being a mere work, it was a holy work, Tirupani. Therefore, there was no quarrel about rights, nor did they strike work, etc., but toiled wholeheartedly. The work was done properly, and even today we see these great temples with tall gopurams at which the whole world marvels. Today we have a huge population and great advances in engineering, but we are not capable of keeping them in a state of good repair. Service to humanity is service to God, but we do things forgetting the Lord. Since work has been separated from all divine connections, even those which are undertaken with a good objective turn out to be a disaster. In olden days, people of the entire country from Kanyakumari to Kashmir were one in bhakti. Therefore, they did not quarrel about temples being built in the north or the south. But people of the north visited the temples of the south and vice versa. But today, whatever dam the government constructs or whatever factory it puts up, people of all states raise a demand that it should be located in their state. These days, the policy is education for all and it is being implemented. This is well intentioned, but the thinking is education should not have anything to do with God. If it is there, it will hurt our secularism. Therefore, the entire education is merely knowledge based. This situation amounts to leading even those people who would be quite without education towards crimes like committing forgery, etc., and misconduct by using their intelligence. It is Upper Swamigal who has shown us the way in this regard. He said, "My duty is to do the work and relax." What did he do? He rendered service through his devotional songs, which would melt the hearts of the people and make them reach Parameshwara. In addition, he had with him a group with tools which is used to clear the growth of vegetation like grass in the temple corridors. Appa's greatness lies in the fact that he had combined service to humanity with service to the Supreme, who is the Father and the Mother of the universe, and helped people in the redemption. It is only when we practice bhakti to the Lord, who is the Father and Mother of the universe, following the path shown by the upper, and come together with and do service, there will be unity without blemish and the attitude to function with enthusiasm, free from quarrels, party fights, cheating, and the mere pretense of integration. It will be possible to perform with these even big tasks. It is in such an atmosphere we will feel the pleasant breeze of happiness. Nothing bad will rear its head there. Instead of thinking that social service consists in moving more and more away from the rules and regulations enjoined by Shastras, we should move closer and closer to them, keep in touch with God, and render service to the country. Periyava Sharanam.